Hello, everyone. We are here today to discuss the topic how to produce consistent projects in countries where capital is scarce and informality high. We have here a special focus in the global south. Let's start with a brief introduction of the participants and a quick presentation of the topic. I will start. My name is Tarcyla. I am a lawyer and I have a PhD in urban planning here in Brazil. I am currently working on a project that aims to introduce the community land trust model as a tool for the permanence and fortification of the informal settlements in Brazil, especially in Rio de Janeiro. And this project is facilitated by the NGO Catalytic Communities. So I will invite my colleagues here to introduce themselves to our public. Isabella, maybe you can start.
Okay, so good morning here in Brazil. It's morning yet. My name is Isabella. I'm an occupational therapist. I made my PhD in arts in a program, an art program, and I study different collectives that I produce care in the city by occupying different public spaces with art. So I'm studying like how people can organize themselves as a collective and can create spaces for to be together and to support each other. And in that way, producing health. So I worked with different collectives that are not institutionalized, and my research project is the name is Incomuns. We made a movie, a documentary, documented these experiences. You can watch here in the website.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Mariolga Julia Pacheco. I am a community social worker and I work in the Caño Martín Peña project in San Juan, Puerto Rico. We have the big mission of implementing a comprehensive development plan without displacement of the communities. And for that, the community created a community land trust, one of the first ones in informal communities. So we base our project in the grassroots organization G8, and I'm more than pleased to be sharing and learning from all of you.
And me? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Yi, and I'm from China. So I started my social enterprise in 2016. It's called Lao Tu, means the old soil. And we tell stories about rural China and to reconnect the rural and urban together and to promote the sustainable development. Yeah, and that's and I will talk more in details later.
Great, thank you very much. So, as I said before, the topic for us today is how to produce consistent projects in countries where capital is scarce and informality high, with this special focus in the global south. I will share with you some of my personal experience for us to start to think about the subject. So, my personal experience with the topic is working in a small NGO, always looking for resources to maintain a new project like the Favela CLT project that is the one where I'm working currently. Before I work here in Brazil, the community land trust model was just nothing but a very distant experience, and getting founders here with not just a new project, but working with a new land model was really a challenge. Actually, we could find more support in international organizations, which was expected, actually, considering not just the type of the projects that we address here, but also the political and economic situation here in Brazil. Well, so this is briefly my experience with the topic, my first experience. And that said, before I pass the word for you to share with us some perspectives, some backgrounds, and some experience related to the topic, I want to explain a little our work methodology today. So we should have brief and accurate interactions considering the time we have and our deeply desire to hear from all of you. The sessions should also be based not on counter arguments, but in adding perspectives and points of view. So instead of no, but we foster a yes and conversation. This is really important for us. And we have some methodology to pass or grab the word. So when someone wants to talk, a gesture like grabbing the word in front of the camera should be done. And when you finish talk, you could just gesture like letting go in front of the camera for another one to take the word. Okay, I think this is the instructions, the first instructions, and we will divide our sessions in three main topics. The first one is, what is the topic? What is the challenge that we are talking right now about? So let's share some perspectives on the topic, bring in multiple points of views according to your backgrounds and your experience. The second moment is the moment when we could think how can the challenge be taken. So let's share some possible actions that we could take to address the challenge. So we can suggest a solution. We can thinking about something that can improve the current situation. So let's think about it a little bit. And finally, our last topic is about thinking when should future actions be taken, not just when, but how future actions could be taken. So there are some actions that could be carried on immediately or just in short term or long term. Can we create an agenda here to propose for our partners around the world? How can we commit it to these actions until the next year? So we will gonna have these three moments, and let's start the first one for us to share some perspectives about the topic. Let's talk about our points of view and talk about our backgrounds and experience in the topic we have. Okay, so if anyone wants to grab the word, it's free.
Well, I'm going to jump first in the pond. You know, when I reflect on the title of this session, the first thing that it comes to my mind is that as we work and implement our projects, between the diversity of the projects that are participating here and in the other forums of this event, I think we have to our starting point should be understanding the informality, because it has multiple phases, and maybe as we work in this aspect, we could see only one side of the informality, but we have to give it a deepened view and try to understand how these communities, how these people, and how these projects are working, and all the domino effect that the informality brings with, and how to interact and how to understand it from a human point, and not saying like, oh, this is urban and this is not in compliance with this aspect or the other, but start understanding the people that live in informality and that they develop their communities and their projects. I think that should be our starting point. And also, it is important to recognize the lack and the gap between the informality and and the aspect of accessing capital, because if as projects we think we have that gap and that lack and that necessity of accessing capital, the communities we are serving to or the communities we are working with, it's much greater their lack and access. And thinking as projects and as organizations, as Tarcyla was saying, one of the deep challenges is start looking at the sustainability of the entities, and how the different capital that we manage to access, we put it to work for the communities, and for the operations of the entity. So I would start over there.
Okay, and I chose this topic because I'm in China, because of the time zone only. Yeah, but I'm very willing to talk and converse with you guys. So because my work is on the rural areas, when I started this project 6 years ago, I found it's very hard to fundraise from like foundations or from investors or from governments. Any of these channels can be very hard because we delved into something that was very new then. And another thing is that because we help the rural areas, and the people there can be people who have fewer narrative power compared to many people in the world. So while that is a very big thing in China, because China has a big divide between the rural and the urban areas, and I think that is similar in many developing countries in the world. Yeah, and we found that maybe one thing we can do is that we can find some peoples who have the consumption power, what is their need, and then connect that need with the need with people who are underprivileged or who want the help with very few support of the capital. Yeah, and another thing we chose is that we chose to focus on the areas of the rural areas that are in the national parks for the first stage of our work, because they are the places that have very pretty areas, the landscapes, and they can be something that many people want to go because of the tourism. Yeah, and but they have very little capital in their life. So that is something that can bridge with, yeah, to connect different needs of different groups. Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. Sorry, I was a bit late. I was in another link. I don't know why. Well, I have been developing projects in Brazil for quite some years now, around 10, 15, something like that. And yeah, especially now in the political context, is really challenging to develop anything that is more kind of community related or non-profit related. Of course, funding, I totally agree, is a major challenge. But also, well, with COVID was just a crazy stuff. Like we had some projects running, and was really hard to work with communities, especially vulnerable communities that we work a lot. Because of course, these people are much more exposed to this. So like what are the limits of keep doing stuff, or just step back or see how things go. So yeah, it's a quite precarious situation that we're living now. And also the few collectives or NGOs are also like kind of fighting for the little funding there is available, that is available. So it's terrible. So like you have your colleagues and people that you admire, but you try to do a coalition, but it's simply not enough for everyone. So yeah, there's a lot of things that could be said here, and I'm looking forward to hear from you too. It's very nice to hear from all of you. I was thinking about my experience. I was for 6 years coordinating NGO, a part of an NGO, very small, and to get resources, it was very difficult. It was very small quantity of money, but we are doing a lot of things with a few money. And then I started to realize that a lot of collectives that I was working with in São Paulo, in the center of the city, I was in an organization that works with harm reduction related to drug use, but we worked in a living center, a place for all the people to go and to be together. And I was in charge in the cultural and artistic front of this experience. And a lot of things that we could do, it was because we have a network of trust near us. So we have a lot of different people working together because they know each other, they care about each other. It was like it was very trustful to have this network, much more than the research from the government or the project to do our event. So when we were occupying the street with art, we just tell our network to go together, let's do it together, and then we could make it. And I'm thinking about this. It is possible, like, to work with those institutionalized forms to make things, or we can radically do things by increasing this trust field between the network of people.
Well, just listen to you and thinking about all our experience here in Brazil, considering we have Isabella and Laura living this situation too. I think we have a peculiarity. I don't know if Puerto Rico and China live the same, that we don't have actually a culture of foundings here in Brazil. The companies, the big companies, don't have the culture to help, the culture to assign some resources to small NGOs or to projects. Some of them do it, but is in a real small interval, a little small part of the social civil social civil act. There is, considering the civil responsabilization, so some actions related to the environment, some actions related to health, public health, but not considering projects like as you've been said. So I think this is a very big problem for us. And the second particularity of Brazil is how we can do great things with a little small resource. We have lots, we have thousands of NGOs, hundreds of NGOs working with a very limited budget and doing very great work, impacting millions of people. So I think these are two particularities of our situation here in Brazil. And I would love to hear from Mariolga and E if it's the same in Puerto Rico and China and how they deal with it.
Yeah, I just say that China has the similar situations, that we have a lot of NGOs since 2008. That was the year of a very big the earthquake in China, and after that, many people came to know about the NGOs. Yeah, and NGOs in China, their fundings are from two main or three main channels. One is the government, and another is the big companies, and third can be donations by individuals every month. Yeah. So and because of the COVID, I find that the funding for small NGOs can be very, very hard. And many people started to think about maybe we can generate money by ourselves. So we may start something similar to the social enterprise. But that trend was very hot in the past several years, but very few people succeed, I'd say. Yeah. So it can be very hard. And in my work, we collaborate with a lot of NGOs in places such as Germany, and we find that it can be a chance that if we can collaborate internationally, we can fundraise or can communicate or do the branding better in the like in the country maybe. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, over here in Puerto Rico, we have a similar scenario that of what you all have been describing. In terms of the NGOs, we have access to local governmental funds because the government is reducing their size, and every year the government becomes smaller and they start funding NGOs to give the different services. It doesn't apply directly to the one that I work, but in terms of the general panorama of the NGOs that could be happening to other types of NGOs here in Puerto Rico. We also some NGOs, depending the topics and the things that they work with, they have access to federal funding, because I don't know how many of you know that Puerto Rico, it's a territory or a colony of the United States. So we have a status of a Commonwealth, and that gives us access to some federal funding from the United States. So it is an interesting relationship, and some types of works of the NGOs, they have direct access because of the kind of services they give. In terms of the private sector and big companies, we have many multinational here, as you might have in your own countries, but their support or their social responsibility is not that big or that significant necessary. It's not a sector that you necessarily can count on. And I would say that the recent events, global, like the pandemic, but also locally, like the impact of the hurricanes and some earthquakes in 2020, they have give some access to funds that it's limited because it's for that event, but many NGOs have had access to that kind of funding, and it has been a relief in the past 2-3 years.
Well, so looks like we have a very similar scenario, a not good scenario for us that work with small projects, that works with NGOs, except that in China and Puerto Rico, as Yi and Mariolga have said, they can access some public support. And here in Brazil, this is almost impossible for us. I don't know, maybe Laura and Isabella could share it with us what they think about the situation in Brazil about public funds, and then we can pass through the next point of our conversation here. I don't know if you want. If you don't want, it's okay too.
Well, I can comment on that. We have some funding, some national funding, some municipal funding. Luckily, in São Paulo, there's a lot. Well, there's more funding than other places, but we used to have even more. So, I mean, comparing to Brazil's situation, Latin America, I mean, developing countries, not to rich countries at all. So there is some, but I mean, it's very scarce anyway. And as Yi commented, nowadays we quite rely on international funding for things, which is very hard. Also because they change their lines of investment according to, of course, their own needs. They're not governments, they're foundations, they're another countries kind of institutions. So yeah, it's basically quite insecure situation. So we have some things, even like the right wing in Brazil attacks things like some instrument with taxes that we could put something in culture. And of course, I don't know, I work with community and development and urbanism, quite local development urbanism, and there's no such a funding. Kind of, we're most likely to rely on funding for culture and not for urban development in the local scale. Because if you go to the urban development in local scale, you have very big NGOs that quite they just take it all over. So as Isabella said, I don't know, our NGO is also quite small, and we are 6 year old now, and there's some of them that are 20 years and quite medium slash big size. And yeah, we don't actually have a chance with this. So yeah, some years ago it was possible to do something, even though it's not ideal. But for now, I have to say it's very hard even to survive doing some this kind of activities, even though we do and we love it and we're here. But yeah, it's not easy.
I think I just can add something. I have worked with financial came from government here in Brazil in the health area, culture, and also social area. And I work a lot with interdisciplinary projects, and then we can access different things. So we have to adapt ourselves to get the research. I think this model it's a problem, because I think as Laura said, we have to adapt ourselves to other needs that aren't ours, and then we have to plan something to can get the research, but we are not connected with our needs to grow like in a healthy way, connected to our needs, to the territory, to the local community, to the history of those groups and collectives. So I think this the model of the financial, even in government and also international organizations, it makes us like to compete with each other. So I think one thing that could help, it have like a financial program that could give resources in a common way to different organizations, to different communities. So we could talk about this and we could make decisions together, because if you your financial if the financial goes to one organization that have to provide everything to do this work, but we could share those resources. So I think that it's a goal, an interesting goal to look forward.
Yeah, so I wanna say more, because I think what Laura just said is the same for us. So one of our program is that we do the work in panda habitat, and they have the problems of on the one hand, the farmers need to have more income, but for the other hand, they live in the nature preserve. So the environmental protection is very big thing. And another thing is that in the commercialization or the modernization process, the communities' lifestyles have changed a lot. So the traditional cultures have been transforming or disappearing. So in our program, we try to combine these three together. But when we fundraise, we find that very few foundations like the idea from the cultural part. They prefer the part that can be more KPI or more quantitative. So we found maybe we should not rely on the payers to pay for us. We may initiate more things that we can earn the income by ourselves.
Well, I think we already start to talk about our next topic. That is how we can address the challenge, how we can think about possible actions to be taken, what can be done to find a solution or to improve the current situation. So we are here talking about a network, strengthening the network between the NGOs, between the small NGOs that works with some aspects that are not covered necessarily by public funds, but we could think about maybe something else. I personally thought about promote some South-South events to share our projects, to share our activity, and possible get some partners engaged. This could be great because a lot of international associations, a lot of international partners are very interested in the South-South dialogues, and I think we do this less than we should. We are always wanting to share something with the global north, share our perspective, share our projects, and maybe we should start some South-South dialogue. This is what I thought hearing what you say. But now the word is with you to share some perspectives about how we can address this challenge.
Well, I can share some ideas. Well, I have been studying some public policies that kind of have this micro funding, and they foster citizens networks and kind of look at this from not organized citizens that decide to improve their neighborhoods until I would say small associations that deal with this topic. And there are some public policies in some cities that do it and have a good result. So I think that like smaller NGOs could somehow get together and try to draw an advocacy plan or like a strategy to talk with governments and try to get something like this. Or it doesn't need to be totally public, but then this international foundation's role would definitely be minor, not major, because otherwise we're still very dependent on it. So I don't know if you agree.
So mine is similar to Laura's. So we did something related to the CBD, which is the Convention on Biodiversity, a parallel UN forums. So what we did is that we really care about how the communities in the rural areas can participate in the conservation or the related topics. So we said that we want to promote how the communities can participate in the topic of the biodiversity, and how the biodiversity and diversity on the various cultures are important. So we did a lot of things with the government together to help on the topic. And the CBD took place in China several months ago, and it would take place in May. And that is a a big series, and hope everyone can join online.
Well, we've been talking about a network. We've been talking about make some movements to get the support of the government. We've been talking about the South-South events to share our projects, to share our perspectives. Anyone else wants to share more ideas to address our challenge?
I don't know if everyone is hearing me. I'm having trouble with the internet, so I might go suddenly, and if that happens, I will try to come back as soon as possible. I agree with the possibility of creating public policy and creating specific taxes, to fund specific needs of the society that all of us and other NGOs are working with. And I also would think that it would be necessary capacity support for many NGOs, because as all of us have said, but mainly you guys, many of the funds are competitive, and we have small NGOs competing with really big NGOs, and it is a disparity. And maybe creating some kind of way or instrument to give technical capacity to these small NGOs would help to give some equity to the equation. And as G said, we have to be creative and look ways to make our own money. It would depend in the kind of project that we're working with, but I think that should be part of our thinking process. Not only looking outside how to make money come to the entity so we can work. So thinking out of the box and thinking what options we have inside our organizations to make different revenues.
Yeah, I think I also want to add that I think the challenge is how those networks can be alive without like continuous support. So maybe if we start to see a little bit more like social movement, I think it will have a difference. Like I'm watching a little bit the work of the Teia dos Povos. I don't know if Marioga and Ilu has getting to know those, but a lot of different people, indigenous people, quilombolas, people from all Brazil are creating this network. They have a website, they have solidarity, they work together to support themselves. I think that's a great example of how can we build those networks, but how can we sustain these in the years? I think that's the difficult part, because I worked in different network projects, like linked to Cultura Viva. It's a law here in Brazil now, but it was a program in the culture area that we worked in teias, in networks, in all Brazil, different cultures. But the fact that was like promoted by the government, I think we were like less engaged. So when the resources to do the encounters have stopped, we were not more articulated with each other. So I think to think about like how can we go for this challenge, how can we maintain together, how can we, and one thing that I think it's to create a network of information that we can share needs and resources that we have. I think it's a simple thing, but it's a thing that can help a lot, because sometimes we think about financial support, but the group on our side have the thing that we need. So I think this is a thing that we could think about.
Well, and I think create a strong network between us, between the NGOs of the Global South, could help us to address some issues, especially with governments. We could be stronger to deal something. We could be strong to demand from the government support and changes in their budget and all the stuff. So I think a network is essential for us to challenge this, to address this challenge. Well, I think we can keep on thinking about these possible solutions, but now we can enter in a more propositive point, the most propositive moment of our talk. Let's start to discuss when should future actions be taken and how we can commit ourselves with these actions. So can we start to create this network? Who want to be involved? Can we start to think about an event or a South-South dialogue with others, NGOs? Can we start to think and make some events considering the focus of the work, so we can group some urban NGOs and another health NGOs and all the stuff? How can we think about going to the practice with these propositions we have made?
From our part, we agree that these conversations need to keep going. We might have, when we deepen the knowledge and the exchange of one another project, we might see similarities or areas that in which we could contribute to the development of the other, and and vice versa. So I agree that we should keep the conversation going and looking forward to identify possible collective actions or collective work.
Yeah, so in my work, we did a series of the online meetings on the CBD, the biodiversity series, and we collected the NGOs from North America, from Europe, and from the Africa, but we did not connect with the South Africa. I mean, no, the South America. So from now we know that we can connect with you guys and can do something together in our own work. And yeah, that's what I want. Thank you.
Well, I grabbing the word. I think the first step for us that is clear is to start to construct the network. Maybe we can keep on touch and invite another NGOs to share with us their challenge, their possibilities, and to start to create some connections that could generate some dialogue, south to south, some events, some politic action with the government. But I think we all agree that the first step is really to start this network. So I don't know if you are able to start this movement with. We are able to start this movement, sharing these words that we shared here today, and inviting some of our friends that works in another NGOs and some of the NGOs that we work with to enjoy this network, and we can definitely start to talk and start to share a lot, I believe. Here in Brazil, we have a lot of specificities that we definitely have to address, and we definitely have to make it up together and go on. We are now probably facing a transition of government in a federal place. So maybe this is an opportunity for us to get in, know the work of NGOs and start to look to us in a better way, to look to us in a way, in a more careful way. And for all the global south, I think we share a lot of challenge and a network to create visibility, to share our work, to share our experience will definitely be great. Actually, catalytic communities and Canyo Martin Peña, that is represented here by Mariolga, already are doing this, and it is an essential movement for us in the development of our Favela CLT project. So I think we can start with another NGOs and get us in touch in a deeply way. I don't know what you think about it, but maybe this is the main the main point that we can take from this conversation.
Can I ask you something, Tarcyla?
Sure.
Okay, the ideas raised here, are you planning, like, from the organization of the event to gather them and somehow put them somewhere? Because I have the feeling that would not be just us that would be interested, and maybe other people can join groups for every of them or each of them, and then the one that has more people or more power to go forward could just be developed by this network.
Yeah, sure. You are absolutely right. We have a community on Discord app, and we can also continue to talk in there and inviting people to join us there. Well, the name of the community on Discord for anyone who is watching us and want to join us is Land Purpose Forum. You can just look for it in the Discord app and join us. Maybe for us to close this conversation, this very, very good conversation, we can share some thoughts about the question, what keeps ourselves motivated to do what we do? Because we share a lot of challenge, we share a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties, but what keeps ourselves motivated? So I will start. What keeps me motivated is to help to increase the urban development of the informal settlements and help people to stay where they are, where they lived for generations in some case. So I think the city should be a place for all the people and not just for rich people or for white people, and then get a city more democratic is what moves me, is what keep me moving in this work. And I think the work of NGOs in the urban area are essential here in Brazil, because we have a really few attention of the public government with the questions around the cities here. So this is what keeps me motivated. I would love to hear from you. What do you think about it? What keeps you motivated?
So for me, this question is very hard, and many people ask me about this. And I think one thing can be when I see farmers' eyes and their faces, I am very drive to do something, and I think I need to help them. And when we were in the villages, we found that the songs that the old people sang when they farmed the land combine a lot of things. I mean, the knowledge that the modern environmentalism lacks. So we really hope we can create something that is from the past to help our human beings future life. Yes.
In my case, what keeps me going on, day by day, it's the strength of the people. We work with many grassroots organizations that they form a coalition that is G8, and the strength and their daily struggle and their daily fight to keep going on and to make in Spanish, hacer valer, I'm sorry, the right to the city, as Tarcyla was saying. We're living it, and with the conviction that they have been fighting for their rights for the past 20 years. I think that's my major motivation to keep going on, and the possibility of the construction of other possibilities and another reality is an essential part of the motivation in my case.
Well, in my case, I think it's just like I feel like I'm doing something that feels right. I am contributing to a future that I would like to live, and yeah, I feel it's a way to contribute to what is going on now. Just like my 2 cents. Yeah, and I don't think I would be happy to work in anything that could not fulfill my ambition of improving the world somehow. Yeah, I think it's something related to that.
Well, I think I need to share a little bit that I'm living now like a crisis in what drives me. One thing that's very alive in my heart, that we are living a crisis in the whole world, I think, and it have to be. There is something like our connection to the nature, to the world. So I'm questioning a lot the ways that we live together. So some years ago, I tried to live in a countryside. I'm recently moved myself from the south of Brazil to the northeast of Brazil. Now I live in Recife. I'm working in the university and getting to know the different logics, and but I'm asking myself, like, how to go forward. What drives me is that we can connect again. There are a lot of people that have this connection, and our ancestrality. I think it's very rich here in Brazil, and I think it's a thing that I want to go forward. But I think if everyone get to connect and get access to the abundance of all that we have, I think it's a good way. But I don't know how to move now. I'm in a little bit of crisis.
Sorry, I was muted. Well, thank you very much. It was really inspired. It's really an inspiration to hear you today. I think we all have our crises, like Isabella. Sometimes we get a little sad, a little disappointed, but we keep going because we know that we do an essential work, an essential public service in some times. So this is why we have to connect, we have to get stronger, and we have to face all the challenges and all the difficulties, which would be more easier to be faced if we were together. I think this is the message. I would like once again to invite everyone that is now watching us to join our discussion in the Discord app. Just look for Land Purpose Forum, and there we can share more thoughts and more experience, and that will definitely, it would be great. I would love I would love to thank you all. Thank you everyone that is listening and watching us, and we definitely will keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.